How's it going, guys? What I wanted to do in this video is actually show you all the cleaning process for my Tisas 1911 carry model. The first thing that you want to do with any firearm to begin the cleaning process is to always make sure that it is unloaded. You can see we do not have a magazine. I'm going to lock the action back, and you can see inside the chamber there is nothing in the firearm. So to begin the process on this particular 1911, I will put it on safe, and the reason that I do that is it helps to hold the slide in position while I remove the barrel bushing. This particular type of 1911 has the traditional button for taking the firearm down, so and of course you can use a tool, but this particular gun, it is unnecessary. Some have the bushingless firearms. You will need to use some type of a tool to get those down, but for these you can simply press it with your thumb, and you can see there I have rotated the barrel bushing slightly, so I am just going to continue that. And you need to make sure you keep your fingers over top of this because it will come out of there very quickly, and make sure that you do not have it pointed at yourself or anything that you do not want it to hit. Now that I have the barrel bushing rotated, I can simply turn the firearm over. I'm going to take it off of safe. Now there is a button right here on the side. You will be pushing in once you get the slide into the correct position. You see this very small notch here onto the slide. What I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to line that notch up with this opening on the slide lock, and then simply push on that, and you can see that it is coming right out. I can then simply grab the slide stop with my fingers, pull that out of the firearm, lay it aside, and now I can slide the slide off of the frame. This particular firearm again has the traditional GI guide rod, so I can take this out, lay it to the side. I can pull the spring and the cap out, and now with the bushing I simply rotate it to the opposite direction. Now remember, it does matter when you get started as far as which direction you rotate that barrel bushing to be able to begin taking the process down. With it pointed in this direction, you're going to rotate it clockwise, and you will not be able to remove it in that position. To be able to remove that barrel bushing, you've got to rotate it all the way counterclockwise till it stops. You can then begin the process of pulling that barrel bushing out. Now, a simple trick for some of the 1911s, that barrel bushing can be just a little bit stiff, and one thing that you can do is simply make sure that you have the link forward so it can pull out. Is simply pull the barrel forward and then just kind of use it to help pull the barrel bushing out. Okay, just like that. We now have the slide, the barrel, and the barrel bushing out of the firearm. So I'm going to lay those down. The first step in the process for me, with what I always do, is I will take the barrel and give it a good spritz of solvent, just like that, and set it aside, and that way it has time to work. You know, of course your barrel is going to be where most of your contamination is, and I'm going to pick up the slide. On the slide, I do not want to spray anything back here around where the firing pin is. You can get buildup in there if you put a lot of heavy solvents and things like that, and it's actually going to attract dirt. It's actually going to attract the buildup and actually make it worse, and you can get some soft primer strikes and things like that. So what I like to do, just spritz it just a little up towards the front, and I'm going to take a brush, just a simple small brush, and I'm actually just going to pull some of that solvent back towards the back part of the slide. Again, keeping that away from the firing pin, keeping it out of there, just like that. I'm just going to pull that back, and I'm just going to set that aside, pick up the frame, and give it a little bit of a spritz also. Get down inside the mechanism, and just like that. And it's a good idea to give it just a couple of minutes to soak and give the solvent time to work. There is a lot of different tools that you can use for cleaning firearms. You do not really need a big elaborate set. Just a few basic tools that you can see here will work fine. And there are many options out there on the market, many different types. I'll actually put a link down in the description to where you can pick up a few different ones. Just some of the more common cleaning utensils out there that will help you to take care of your firearm. Now, of course, firearms are expensive, so it is a very good idea to maintain them. And the better that you maintain them, the longer that they will last you, and they will give you years and even generations of service. So after the frame, the slide, everything is set for a brief period of time in the solvent, I will simply take the frame, picking up my brush, and then I will start to clean inside the rails. You want to make sure that you get all of that buildup out, and just, you know, and one thing as well that you need to remember, do not use steel brushes like this. Okay, this is a very stiff nylon. Brass brushes work well, but do not use steel brushes when doing this. You will destroy the finish of your firearm. You will actually scar the metal and make your problem worse, particularly in the slides. If you were to use steel down in there and it was to gouge that, it can cause you some issues. If that slide catches, and it's not going to float as freely on air as it should, so it can actually cause you some issues. I want to get in here, clean out all this real well. Back into this area here, just to make sure there is no buildup. It's also a good idea to periodically remove the grip panels and clean the frame underneath here as well. I'm not going to be doing that in this video, but I can tell you from years of doing this, being in firearms, purchasing used firearms, there are guns that are actually ruined because no one ever cleaned underneath the grip panels. They were never removed, and I've seen firearms once that these were removed, the frame would actually be cracked, and there's really not a lot you can do with that. And that's why it's a good idea to periodically remove the grip panels and clean underneath them before you reinstall them. So we have that cleaned, beginning the process of cleaning, I should say, and we're going to go back to the slide. And I'm just going to give it another quick spritz, again staying away from that firing pin, just towards the front, taking that brush and getting inside here again, and then just scrubbing inside those rails very well, making sure to get all the buildup out. I want to scrub down in here as well, not using any kind of, not spraying down in here, but just what I pick up from the brush. I just want to scrub down in here, make sure that I get this side as well. Try to get all of that buildup out. Also get down on these locking lugs in the slide. You want to make sure any kind of buildup in there. If you get a lot of heavy buildup in there, it might prevent your gun from going fully into battery, and that can be a bad day. Also clean up around where the barrel bushing is, down as well as where the guide rod, the cap would be. clean in there just as well as you can. I want you to pay particularly close attention to your ejector. Okay, one big cause of failure to eject is when you get a lot of buildup right down in here on that ejector. It's a good idea to take that brush, that small end, and clean underneath there real well. Just make sure that you get any kind of contaminants out. Okay, get that breech face, clean it real well. You know, just having just a little bit of that solvent on the brush that I picked up when cleaning the rest of it, it will clean those out just very easily. And again, you can see there that ejector. I'm going to show you right here. You can see where I'm pointing at it right there. If you get a lot of buildup in there, you will get failures to eject. So make sure that you get that cleaned out real well. Okay, just like that. Now we're going to turn our attention back to the barrel. I had sprayed it previously, as you saw, and was giving it plenty of dwell time to allow that solvent to work. This gun is not very dirty, but I did want to clean it, give it a good going over, and just to make sure that it's in real good shape. So I'm just going to hit it again. Quick spritz, both ends. I'm going to take a cleaning brush from the chamber end, and I'm just going to rotate that just a little bit inside there, and that way it can kind of help just scrub some of those contaminants off. Push it on through just like so, and then pull it back out. Okay, go in the other way just to make sure that I get everything out. Okay, set that aside and pick up a patch. These plastic patch holders are something that I go through a lot of. I have a tendency of breaking them. I'll just show you what I typically do. Of course, some of you guys may know, depending on if you've watched any of my other cleaning videos. I'm just going to fold this down just like so, slip this through the opening, and bear with me guys, because I'm trying to actually look through the camera as I do this to where I can make sure that I show you guys everything that I'm doing. I don't think I folded that down enough. I typically don't use these. I will just use my other technique that I will demonstrate here in just a moment, especially if I can't get this to work as easily as I would like for it to. Okay, grab that, pull that patch through just like that. Okay, a lot of firearms will come with this. In fact, these two here actually came with this gun when I bought it. So I'm just going to take this patch, take our barrel, can give it just a little bit more of a spritz of the solvent, and of course the rim oil is something that works as a lubricant as well as a solvent, and you know, it does very well. Okay, just twist it just a little, just to kind of get some of that wiped out of there, and you can see there guys, it's not very dirty. I do like to get all of that buildup out though. Okay, now the technique that I will typically use instead of using these, just because as I mentioned before, I've broken so many of them, I'll simply take one of these patches, just how it is. I'll take my brush and I will simply wrap the patch starting at the front of the brush. I will simply wrap it around the brush just like that, and then I will push that through. Okay, and you can see there a lot of it tore through. That's very common. And I pull it back out, and you can see that's the rest of the brush. One thing that does is it keeps a little bit of sidewall pressure on there to help clean some of the contaminants out. And you can see that barrel is nice and clean. We don't have any buildup. Again, though, it's not very dirty. And don't worry about this sticking to those brushes. You know, sometimes you can't get all of those fibers off. No big deal. But sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. So just like that, take a paper towel. I'm just going to wipe that down, set it aside. Now another step that I will take when cleaning my firearms, you can get swabs or I will typically just get a large box of Q-tips, and I will take the Q-tips inside these rails and clean them out. You know, that scrubbing that I did previously, I want to make sure that I get all of the buildup out, and simply taking the Q-tip, going through that rail just like that will help to ensure that I get a lot of that buildup out. You know, and depending on how dirty your gun is, you can go through quite a few of these. You know, it is if you like to clean your firearms, which typically mine, I try to take care of them. I try to keep them clean and you know, well cared for. They're expensive, and I really don't like buying them time and time again. Let's get down in there. You want to get down in here, just get all this garbage out. I can wipe that out with a paper towel. Get back in here real well. Just take a paper towel. The Tisas 1911 is one that has a pretty good reputation. The company, for quite some time, they have made some very notable firearms, including the Browning High Power. You know, that is one that they have made in a few different variants. I know you can actually get a clone from them, the Browning High Power, in stainless steel. And those guns are so close to the originals that parts are interchangeable with them. The 1911s that they make also have a very good reputation. They're not your typical budget 1911 in my opinion. I think that they have done a very, very good job on their line of 1911s, and you can see there those Q-tips, what I was able just to clean out of that rail. So we will again rotate to the other side and get some of that out. Down inside here, you can see that we're getting a lot of buildup out of there as well. So just like that. And again, though, we're not going to be spraying any of the solvent up in that area where the firing pin is, because I don't want any to get inside there where that firing pin is. I typically just will do this and you're fine. You know, you can get a lot of that buildup out of there with very little effort. You know, you can spray just a little on your Q-tip or whatever if necessary. A few passes, and you can see we'll get that out just like so. And this 1911, just so you know, it is a Series 70. For those of you all who are not familiar with what the difference is between the Series 70 and the Series 80, I did another video that I will try to put a card up in the corner to where you can go back and check that out. And some people prefer one over the other. I own firearms that are both. You know, I own some that are Series 70, some that are Series 80. I like both of them. Again, I don't own firearms I don't like. So if it is a firearm that you see on my channel, you can rest assured that it is a firearm that I like. You know, no need to spend money on things you don't like. Okay, you can see here we have got this pretty well cleaned. Okay, just to get down inside there, just to make sure that I get all those contaminants out. Okay, we do have a little bit down there on our locking lugs. Okay, we get that out of there. Now, let's turn our attention to the barrel bushing. This does not typically take too much effort to clean. You do get a little bit of blowback in there, so you can simply take your brush, scrub it down, any kind of buildup that's in there. Okay, get inside there real well just to make sure that you have everything out. Wipe that down. And now we are pretty much ready to reassemble the firearm. This is also a good time just to look over the firearm to make sure that you do not have any issues with it. Make sure that there are no bulges or cracks in your barrel. If there are, stop using it immediately. Do not take the risk, take the chance of having a failure. So, you know, again, look over, make sure there are no cracks, no pitting, anything like that within the barrel. You can see down through there, this one is in very good shape. Some of you guys might want to go back and check out the videos that I did on this particular firearm. This is one that I had recently got as time of this recording. Again, we're just going to look over, make sure that we are in good shape. Also, when you're cleaning, pay close attention to that feed ramp. Make sure that you don't get any buildup in there. It can cause you some failures to feed. If you do have some buildup, any kind of deposits or anything like that. So again, just looking over, make sure nothing is loose, there's no missing pins, no loose screws or anything like that. Okay, don't when you have the firearm part like this, do not let the hammer go forward and strike the frame. That can damage the hammer and the frame. Okay, so make sure that you do not do that. So set our frame back down. Now, as far as the spring, I'm just going to wipe it off just like that. As far as the guide rod, I'm just going to do the same, just wipe it off, make sure there's no buildup on it. Okay, and typically I will give just a little bit of a spritz to the locking lugs in a couple of places in here. Again, rim oil is good for a cleaner as well as a solvent. If I have a firearm that is heavily dirty, then I will use a straight solvent like Hoppy's number 9, and then use a straight oil. It just again depends on how dirty that firearm is. And if you take care of your firearms and don't let them get that dirty, then you typically won't have to do that, but it's always an option. Okay, now that we have a little bit of lubrication in there, I'm going to take the barrel, slide it back into position just like that. I will take the barrel bushing, and one thing you can do is just a little spritz of lubrication on the barrel bushing as well. Okay, just to go around like that. Take the barrel bushing, make sure you note the direction, because it will not go because of that lug. It's only going to go in one way. We're going to slip it into position just like that, and then I'm going to rotate it all the way over to the other side. Okay, now I will take my guide rod, and again this is the standard guide rod. I'm going to raise my link up. I like to set them straight up like that for this step in the process. Simply set my guide rod there, take the spring, the cap, and slide the spring back into position. Get it around that guide rod just like that. Okay, very easy, very straightforward. I'm just set that down. Again, I'm just going to put a couple of quick spritz of lube right on the rail, and I'm actually using more lubrication than is really necessary for these. Of course, coming out of a spray bottle, you know, it's going to give you a little more, but you know, this gun will be put up for a while, and I typically will keep them just a little bit wet when I am not going to be firing one for a while. So now, and this is just something that I do with the 1911s, I'll hold it upside down and slide the frame and slide back together. Bear with me again because it's a little bit of a challenge doing this looking through a camera, but I wanted to show you guys the process. Okay, I get it lined up. I simply slide the frame and the slide back together just like so. Okay, Alright, just to show you all where I'm at. But what we've got to do is we've got to line up that link. Okay, that is an absolute must. Okay, without getting that link lined up correctly, you're not going to be able to get this back together. And you can see there is a link. Right, I'll slide it back and forward just so you guys can see it. I want to get it close to that opening as possible. I will now take the slide lock and I'm going to begin inserting it into where the hole, and of course you may have to wiggle that just a little bit to get it to line up. You'll notice that I'm keeping my thumb behind this, and the reason for that is because I don't want to damage the finish on this. A lot of your 1911s, if someone does not have to know what they're doing when they're taking them apart, they'll get a scratch through here when they try to put these back together, and it's because of where they're fighting this, trying to get it lined back up, and they'll end up scratching it. But by keeping my finger between that, I'm not going to be getting it against it right now. You know, I'm going to be able to keep it away from there. And of course some of these are a little stiffer than others, or a little tighter than others, so it can be a little bit more of a challenge. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to line that notch up back where it was here. Okay, again, and right here, this is where the scratch can happen, and I'm going to keep it away from the frame until I get it up into position. I'm going to get it very close. I want to make sure that I'm lined up right where I need to be, and then just push it right in. And you can see that it went right back into position. Okay, do not force this. Some firearms, some 1911s can be a lot more difficult than that. In fact, I own a few myself. They can be much more difficult than that to get that line back up. But if you force it, you can damage the firearm in a very bad way. So just make sure that you get that lined up properly and snap it back into position. Okay, now we have that back into position. I'm going to push the slide forward. My cap slipped off, no big deal. I'm going to put the firearm on safe. I'm going to turn it upside down, take the cap, put it back on the spring, and make sure again that you are not pointing the spring towards you or anyone else, because it is under some pressure. And I'm going to push the button, the cap, push it back into the frame. And again, you can use a tool for this. I typically don't. Then I'm going to rotate the barrel bushing. You can see how I'm doing this. And that barrel bushing, I'm holding that down, and of course I've got it rotated to where it's actually going to catch it now. So I'm just going to continue rotating that until it is in the correct position and locked in, just like that. Okay, rotate the gun over. I want to make sure that everything is doing as it should. Cycle that action a few times. It'll also help to distribute your lubrication on those rails. Okay, and of course just to make sure all of our safeties function properly, I'm going to engage the safety, press that trigger, nothing happens. Disengage the safety, press the trigger, hammer falls, and I want to hold that trigger back. Okay, I'm going to then grab the slide. I am going to cycle that action back and forward, and then I want to release it and listen for a click. Okay, that will tell me that the firearm is functioning correctly. The next thing that I want to check is, of course, the grip safety. So, safe direction. Press the trigger with this safety disengaged, as well as this safety not being engaged, and you can see it does not fall. Again, press the grip safety and it does fall. So that is the basic steps in cleaning and function testing the Tisas 1911 carry model. This is a very nice firearm, a very budget friendly firearm. You get a lot of 1911 for not a lot of price. I think that these are a very nice firearm. Go back and check out the other videos that I've done on this, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. Guys, thanks for watching the video. If you have any questions, leave those down below in the comments. Also, please check out the links down in the description. I will put some links for some of the cleaning supplies down there where you can go, and it kind of helps to support what we do here on the channel. And go back and check out the rest of the videos on the 1911s. Go back and check out the playlist. If you're watching this, you're probably a 1911 enthusiast such as myself. You know, I have a few different ones on there. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe, share the videos, check out the links down in the description, visit my website at boomsticktactical.com, and we'll see you next time.